Hi, welcome to Cliterally Speaking the Podcast. I'm Michelle Doherty.
And I'm Emily Lane.
We are BFFs dedicated to bringing you conversations between girlfriends over a bottle of wine.
Oh, I am so excited about the wine part.
Oh, me too. So pull up a chair, grab your glass,
and let's get talking.
Well, hello, Emily. How are you today?
Hello, Michelle.
We talked about this last time. I was going to try not to do, hey, how you doing, Emily? But it just seems so natural to me.
Well, I think you should stick with it.
Just stick with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
do what's natural.
I know.
Yeah.
I keep trying to say, class it up a little bit on my end.
I think
she's saying stop.
I like the true Michelle.
You like it when I don't hold back.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Well, here we are.
Yeah.
Another fabulous day brought us here to the studio.
That's right. We're kind of recording outside our normal schedule today because we wanted to take advantage of the fact that this amazing woman is back in town.
I know. We have on our show today Lola Van Ella.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know,
I was going to read her.
You're going to read?
I was going to read it. That's why. That's why I'm trying to find. I have the glasses on. This is it, right? Lola Van Ella is an international burlesque singer, dancer, producer, instructor, and MC. One of the premier names in burlesque, she performs frequently and produces many shows, including the International Show Me Burlesque Festival, the largest of its kind in the Midwest, the Shimmy Showdown, and Spectaculaire. That's in French. Lola is the CEO of Van Ella Production and Studio, which is the home of burlesque, vaudeville, and variety education and entertainment in St. Louis. And it goes on and on. She has been featured and written about locally in St. Louis Magazine, Vital Voice, AOL City's Best, the Riverfront Times, the Post-Dispatch, and KDHX. She's received the first and second runner-up titles, respectively, in the Queen of Burlesque competition 3 years in a row.
Ooh, where does that take place?
In New Orleans, where I now live.
Right. I've seen her perform, and this is not written in here, but she's amazing. She was in town. You can definitely read the rest of this incredible bio on her website. But Lola was in town, and we asked her to be on the show, and she was like, yeah, let's do it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's how I remember it going
my
down.
gosh. Well, upon the conception of this podcast, when we were putting down kind of a list of dream people to bring into the studio, Lola, you were on that list.
You didn't even know us yet.
I didn't know.
And now you're like, of course.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
Well, thanks.
Total
Well,
sense.
I've seen many of your productions and your shows, and you have kind of a special light about you.
Oh,
you know, you make burlesque. Burlesque is fun, but you make it feel so women's empowerment, and you make everybody feel comfortable and create a good time for everybody.
Glad to hear it.
So
yeah. So we really, welcome to the show, and thanks for making time to be with us today.
This is great. I'm excited to be here.
And we always start off with another bottle, talking about it.
Yes.
And again, we do pick our bottles with our guests in mind.
Absolutely. And so today, when I reached out to our friends, the wine merchant, I said, we've got Lola Van Ella coming in, guys. What should we drink? I mean,
they offered to bring it here themselves, but we said, guys, the studio is small enough already. We're going to have you stay at the wine merchant and keep working.
Yeah, we knew that she liked red wines.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, we need something sassy.
Yes.
So this is their interpretation of what a sassy wine tastes like. Let's see what you think. I think this is delicious. It's a Spanish wine. It's called Via Del Cua. It's from the Bierzo region. The grape is Mencia. They picked it out because they're like, oh, it's leathery and spicy. And
Those are words I like.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree. I do. I definitely taste leathery, spicy notes, a little violet, some black cherry, some red plum.
It's very
herbaceous.
good. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Good.
I'll definitely drink more of this.
Wonderful. Well,
And the price point is great.
what's the price of this one?
Before taxes, it's like $14.99.
Oh, perfect.
yeah,
That's great.
Totally
Yeah.
easy. to get to.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. I mean, I'm surprised by that price given his taste.
I don't think it was on sale.
Yeah.
I think that was, well,
It's a good value wine.
I think so. We like our value wines. Yeah, so it's very good.
Well, cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Reach.
So, Lola, you brought your friend with us today.
Yeah, my little man, Chappie, is in my lappy, dressed as Santa.
And he's a performer, too.
Yeah, well, I'm like a crazy stage mother who pushes him onto the stage, but he lives the life of a spoiled prince, so I think it's the least he can do to pull his weight around here. It's time for him to start earning some of the rent that I pay.
He is a Shih Tzu?
He is, I think, mostly. I mean, he was rescued off the street, and I have never really gotten the full lowdown on his age or exact type, but we're going to guess that he is now around between 8 and 9, and he is probably mostly a Shih Tzu.
Okay. He's very adorable. He looks like an Ewok.
Yes, we get that all the time. He's an Ewok mixed with like a luck dragon from the Neverending Story.
Oh my goodness, right?
Yes. He's basically a living Muppet.
Yeah, yeah. He's just
everybody's
so
dream.
Calm.
Yes, and kind of like a dog version of a very like an old British man. That's kind of how I imagine him. He's my old. We call him the old man, baby man.
And he found you. You said.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. I was driving to the bank one day, and he was literally licking a fast food wrapper, like a true street urchin from from the olden days of a Dickensian novel, except for the fact that it was like a McDonald's wrapper. But yeah, he was just licking this. It was the saddest, most street urchin thing I'd ever seen, and so I basically kind of chased him down, and we found him sitting on the porch of this house where they were not feeding him or touching him or giving him any sort of life at all. And the neighbors saw me looking for him, and then they encouraged me to take him.
So he had run back to where he had been living.
Yes, but they weren't letting him in, and they weren't feeding him.
Oh my God!
So I feel no remorse
for taking
this dog. It was he was in a really bad place, and I was not looking for a dog, but it was instant love. And there was discussion on whether to name him Chaplin after Charlie Chaplin, or he was going to be named Buster after Buster Keaton.
Oh, either way.
Once we realized how Chappie just fit him so well, so he's definitely not graceful like Charlie Chaplin, or really is distinguished, but he's definitely a Chappie. He's Chappie.
It's great. Yeah. My dog had a very similar story when I adopted him from a home. My mom found him actually at a garage sale, and he's a tiny guy. He was 6 pounds when I got him.
Oh my goodness!
And my mom was like going to this garage sale and saw this cute little dog chained to a tree, and he literally had like, it wasn't like he was chained to a tree like with a beautiful little collar and like hooked up. It was he had a chain around his neck chained to the tree. 6 pound
horrible.
Yorkie.
6 pounds.
So my mom called. She was like,
awful.
she's an animal whisperer, and picked him up, and they loved each other instantly. The woman who was running the garage sale was like, well, everything's for sale, including the dog. So my mom knew I wanted a Yorkie and was dog shopping at the time. And she called me. She's like, Emily, I found your dog. And same thing, instant love affair. Like, we're inseparable. And
that's really sweet.
And, he's had some issues to overcome, I'm sure, as Chappie has. But, we've saved each other for sure.
Yeah. I say the same thing. Exactly. It's like people are like, oh, you rescued him. I'm like, well, it was mutual. He rescued me. I rescued him. Like,
And how many years have you had him now?
Going on 8.
Wow.
He'll be 8 this coming June.
Wow.
Very similar time.
And when did he start performing with you?
When I started taking him on the road all the time, and then I make a lot of appearances at these different venues around the country. I wish I could take him internationally. It's the hardest part is when I leave for Europe. It's usually for about a month at a time.
Oh yeah.
So then I have to leave him with grandma and grandpa, with mom and dad. And they love him, so it's okay. But early on, it was sort of. I don't even remember exactly the first time. I should remember, but I think it was probably the House of Blues in New Orleans. I was performing there, and he came on stage with me at the end of the show, and of course the audience.
And it was unplanned?
I think it was a slightly unplanned. I think sort of saw me on stage, and I encouraged him to run to me, and he ran to me and jumped in my arms, and I was like, well, this is great. Plus, it's always great.
It was an Annie moment.
Yeah, you're going to get the
House of
audience
Blues.
on your side when they see a cute fluffy dog, and so it's he's always the ringer, know. So I have this sort of Christmas holiday show, and we just did it in Madison and Columbia at the Majestic and the Blue Note, and at the end of the show, I sang Santa Baby to him dressed as Santa Claus.
Oh my gosh.
It was great because, of course, I said, I need Santa Claus to come out here. And he came out, and of course the audience immediately is, plus they're drunk, and they were all trying to pet him, and they were so excited. And I was like, I knew he would be the real star. Everybody forgets about me once they see Chappie on the stage. So it's great.
I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but I am eager to learn about what inspired you to get into burlesque?
Well, I mean, it was probably a lifelong, there's you think about things from your past and you're like, oh, that explains it. I was always fascinated with spectacle and stage stuff. I mean, ever since I was a child, I was performing from a really, really early age. And I used to make up plays and do musical reviews in my living room, and I would charge my parents money.
So that's the difference. I never charged my family. I made them sit there, but I didn't charge.
I made them pay me. So I forgot I did that. And then I was
You've seen your value very young. That's great.
I think at first it was probably free, and then I realized that there could be money in this business. So I started making them pay $25. And I would invite my aunts and uncles or whatever, but they all had to pay $25 to see my terrible shows. And I would write them and made little musicals and stuff. But I always loved performing, and my grandma is a huge movie buff. She has a massive film collection. She owns over 2,500 titles.
Wow.
And she just is an expert. So we used to watch old MGM musicals and Busby Berkeley, and I saw Gypsy with her for the first time, and all kinds of stuff. Lady Sings the Blues with Billie Holiday.
That's so great.
I just learned early on I wanted to be like those women, and so I always was kind of enamored with glamorous women, but also glamorous, funny women that were in charge. So I loved Lucille Ball and Dolly Parton from a really early age. But I was really fascinated with that, and I think it just sort of propelled me into wanting to sort of not only be on stage, but I was also really enamored with fancy, sparkly showgirls. I just loved fancy costumes, and even from a really young age, and I probably was a little too young, I remember wanting to wear fishnets and corsets when I was 8. You know, not knowing anything about it.
Well, I was curious, how did your parents react to that? I mean, it's one thing to have, when your daughter wants to go off and be a tomboy, and they try to stop that. But if your daughter wants to walk around and, be in her tutu and fishnets all day long, how do they handle it?
We never really had the money for me to take actual formal training. So I was always very much doing it on my own. And my mom was a dancer, and my whole family is very musical. So they always encouraged my shenanigans. They never really thought it would take me where I am now. But I was really fascinated with showgirls, with and just sparkly nudity. Always, I was never ashamed of being naked. I'm really grateful to my mom for that too. She was a fitness competitor and bikini model.
Oh my God.
So I grew up with this bodybuilding hot mom who we lived in Florida, and she was strutting around in her bikini all the time. I never thought about it, And so my mom never encouraged my burlesque career, but once I got into it, at first I think they were all really freaked out. But over the years, as I become more and more brazen and more outspoken about sex workers and strippers and just women being in charge of their bodies and having agency over themselves regardless of what they want to do, no matter what, they have really, really learned to accept it, and not just accept it, but my mom is my biggest fan. And my dad actually saw my very first burlesque show last New Year's Eve. First time in 13 years.
Yeah.
And he's got tickets for the front row for this one, and he sat in the front row for the Show Me Burlesque Festival.
How did you feel that day? You
I
knew
was
he was
terrified.
there. Okay.
I've never been more nervous in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so nervous, especially because I closed the show with this very sultry striptease number, and my dad was in the. It's very awkward,
Yes.
So I was like, "You guys, my dad is here." I was terrified, but he loved it. He loved the whole show. He was sold.
So supportive.
So
afterwards.
and at the end, he really took me aside and just said, "I'm so proud of you." It was like the most,
Yeah.
oh, thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it was great. I think he's finally also just realized like this is not a phase, and I'm a grown ass woman.
Yeah.
So
it's just going to be weird if he starts to get all of his buddies to get together.
well,
Let's go.
that's the funny part is his best friend was there that night, his
my
best
God.
buddy, and he was laughing and giving him trouble, which was making me more embarrassed. He was like, "I was watching your dad when you were doing this thing." I was like, "Oh my God, shut up."
As a performer, and I've seen you do some things. I mean, I've seen you a couple of times. One you used to do the burlesque on Sundays down at Lola's.
Oh my God, that was so long ago.
A long time ago. That was when my minivan was in a gunfight. But
What?
so long ago. But and then
I think we need to hear that story.
We'll tell this. I'll tell the story in a minute. But so I saw seen you do that. I saw you at the Dutchtown Carnival. Of course, saw some of your things on YouTube and stuff. But knowing your father was in the audience, did you let everybody else know that he was there?
Oh,
or did
yeah,
I did.
You
capitalized on that.
Oh yeah, and I made jokes on the
that
mic
made
about
it
it.
easier for you, right?
Yeah, I made
Okay.
jokes on the mic because he was cracking up there because there was some really great comedy in the show, and he was. I mean, there were moments where he was so red in the face from laughing, which made me so happy because my dad has a very infectious, like loud, bellowing laugh, and so. Everyone heard him, and I definitely teased him a bit. And I can't help but heckle my dad if he's in the front row.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, this is kind of what you have to do.
Everyone knew. Plus, I was like freaking out. I was like, "You guys, I can't." I was telling everybody over and over again, like, "My dad is here. Oh my God, what is happening?"
I'm going to be bending over and shaking my butt.
Yeah.
Everybody,
yeah.
good behavior.
Yeah, I was so nervous, but he loved it. He really did love it.
Fabulous. So how old, not how old, but like when you decided to get in burlesque, I mean, did you have somebody to study under? Did you?
No.
You created everything that's here in St. Louis, didn't you?
Well, I can't take all the credit at all because I was a part of a collective called the Alley Cat Review. And so it was me and a number of really amazing women who all started under the direction of the manager of this club that no longer exists on Washington. That was called Rue 13, but it was like around for a long time. And they had they wanted to start this burlesque thing because the manager had seen like 40 Deuce in Las Vegas. And so she put out like audition notices in the paper. And this is before Facebook, really.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like 2000. I mean, there was Facebook, but it was like back when it was just like college kids on it.
And so when I wasn't on
I was
it.
definitely not on it. I had a MySpace page,
I did
and,
too. I still do, but I just don't.
MySpace was great.
I don't remember my
I miss
password,
that.
so
I
it's
miss
kind of
MySpace.
it's
You
kind
could
of
make your own
out there.
put your little HTML codes in there, make your page look all cute. Anyway, but
She put the audition notice in the paper.
She put a notice in the paper, and long story short, I met a woman who was in a cabaret with me, and a different cabaret. It was like a Great American Songbook kind of thing, and we were both singing in the show, and she said, "Oh, hey, I'm in this burlesque show downtown." It had just started like a month previous to that, and she said, "You should come down, and they need more performers." And I walked in the very next Saturday, saw the show, and said, "I'm doing this." It was like the most like light bulb moment.
You walked
of
in
my
and
life.
felt at home.
I was like, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life."
Yeah.
And I immediately walked up the stairs and told the manager I wanted a job, and she said, "Can you start next weekend?" And so I had 1 week to put together my act, and so.
What was your first act like?
I sang Whatever Lola Wants, which of course, like, duh. And I sang I Want to Be Loved by You, the like Marilyn Monroe, Betty Boop. And
you had your stage name of Lola Van Ella at that point?
No.
Okay.
No, I was just sort of Lola. No one had last names then. It was just sort of this sort of, I mean, it was really raw. It was really rough. There was no tech. Like there was no announcer.
Yeah.
It was just like this trial by fire burlesque. It
Much
was sort
like
of
our podcast.
just like get out there and make it work. Hopefully no one dies, And we
don't take our clothes off on the podcast.
But
I mean,
you
sometimes
could.
it feels like
not yet at least.
Yeah. We're working
the
our
night
way.
is young and the wine is just only not even halfway done. So.
And it gets hot in
well,
studio.
exactly. Don't count yourselves out yet. I'm sure we could make something happen. But yeah, we just sort of like jumped on stage and did it, and then we just grew from there. But I loved it, but I wanted more, and that is to not discount anybody there because I loved all those women very much. But I really wanted something bigger. And so I started producing my own events. And that's when Via Del Cua Productions sort of came to be. And I started to produce my own show. And I started to create this showcase for other, because there were no other performers.
Yeah.
We were the only performers. So I started teaching classes.
Right.
And then that's how more performers started to come out. And
grew.
And there's, of course, like a whole history from there, herstory, as it were, from there. But I started teaching and creating the St. Louis Burlesque Showcase, and we started doing this like event off Broadway with part of Stag Night, which was like this rock and roll dive bar magic that happened. And then from there, it just exploded. And then I started the Show Me Burlesque Festival in 2010.
Well, do you believe, like I do, that when something's supposed to happen, everything falls into place for you?
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like you went to the bar on Washington Avenue, and you just knew where you're supposed to be. And then St. Louis has benefited tremendously, and all of the women and all the people who have gone to the shows have benefited because you stayed true to who you are.
Thank you. Yeah, I really believe in just like finding out who you are and then, doing it unapologetically. I think there's a Dolly Parton quote about that, and I think she's like my patron saint. So, but you just have to, and I really also believe in like figuring out what you're good at and then just doing it. Find out what your strengths are and then exploit them as much as you can until they don't work anymore. And I have, steadily but surely throughout my life kind of just tried to capitalize on the things I'm good at, and there's no such thing as failures really, or failures are just chances to learn. So it's like you fail, but really a failure is just another amazing opportunity for growth.
Right.
Absolutely.
Totally agree with you.
It's pretty amazing. I never expected what now is. I didn't.
You just figured you would be the accountant by day and the burlesque dancer by night.
Never an accountant. Right? Oh God, no.
Maybe that would have helped you a little bit. Though.
No, now if I could do it all over, I would have taken more business classes probably. But I really had to learn all of it sort of as it was happening.
On the job training.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I could have never worked in an office. I knew I had to just do this.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else. I mean, I've been kind of a full-time hustling showgirl for my whole adult life in one form or another.
With this being a glamorous work, kind of work,
the
do you
podcast or the burlesque?
Well, I mean,
this is pretty glamorous.
One and the same, right?
I mean, there's cheese and wine and a dog. Nice looking man. The control boards is sweet.
We try to glam it up here.
It's really
Cliterally Speaking,
of course. Glamorous blues hat on, really sweet button down. It's good.
Yeah.
Target.
We're gonna dress him up in one of our sweatshirts pretty soon.
Nice.
It'll be even more glamorous then.
Does it say Cliterally Speaking on it? Yeah, he should definitely wear that.
Yeah.
He needs to be wearing that pretty much at least every recording day.
Good.
Well, with the glamour aspect, I wanted to ask, do you work with a costume designer or do you design your... Yeah.
Yes, I actually try to design. I really loved the design aspect, but I loathe I shouldn't say loathe. I know where my strengths are, and it is not in sewing. I have sewn in my life. I used to sew a lot of my own clothes when I was younger for fun. They were not beautiful garments, but I thought they were I was trying to be like very chic and, I was very much living this very kind of hippie, free-spirited life. So I used to make my own clothes, but they were not bespoke by any means or couture. So I work with a number of amazing and talented designers who we work on a vision and then they make it happen.
Oh, wow.
And then I have friends that rhinestone it for me.
Oh my gosh, you have a rhinestone friend.
I have multiple rhinestoners who then I give, and then they put on thousands and thousands of Swarovski and, also knock off rhinestones that were maybe on sale on eBay or something.
Oh my gosh.
That's fabulous. Fascinating. Well, let's take a quick break, drink a little bit more of our wine, because I just feel like our conversation is so stunted today.
There's nothing to talk about here.
We're having to pull words out of everybody's mouth. So let's get some more wine and take a little break, and we'll come back and talk some more. All right?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Have you seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
It's one of the greatest shows I think that's been out in the last decade. Yeah. I'm obsessed. I have like 4 episodes left.
Take it slow.
Yeah.
Because I'm already done.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm really sad because I know it's almost over, but it's great because I'm on break right now. Like I'm not in New Orleans and I have it queued up my girlfriend who I'm watching it with on her Amazon Prime. So I'm waiting till I get back.
It's amazing. I think, how do they even make the second season even better than the first?
Thank you. I agree. I think the second season's better.
Once I got back from Paris,
Yeah.
I was
I loved it.
Well,
I loved
know,
it in
but I was like,
Paris.
really, we're gonna hang out in
Loved
Paris?
it.
But I mean, they got better. And then the last episode,
I can't
wow,
wait.
where is it gonna go from
I
here?
can't wait.
Mm.
I love it so much. And I
wonder to
in the
have it
first
all.
season, those burlesque dancers, by the way, are friends of mine.
Seriously?
Yeah, so that very first episode in the the pilot when she's talking about how Joel took her to like all the culture, but it's like, you know, it
Yeah.
shows like it's the dirty burlesque club where Gilbert Godfrey is the
Yes.
Oh
MC.
my gosh.
And he's like, you know, give it up for whatever. And he's making jokes about that girl. And she's twirling her tassels, and then one flies off. And then
Yes.
she says, "Here you go, honey." And
Yeah.
that's my friend Tansy. She's a burlesque dancer in New York.
Wow.
And I was just hanging out with her in New Orleans. She was having dinner at my house, and she's an actress, obviously, and a burlesque dancer, and she's really talented. And her girlfriend is my best friend's ex-girlfriend, and so she's one of my good friends now. Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
it's all
wow.
it's all like incestuous and connected. And then at the very end of that first season, she's in the burlesque club again, and all of those burlesque dancers, I know every single one of them. They're
Oh
all
my
friends of mine.
gosh.
So have you told them to tell the production company that you need to have a walk-on or a cameo or something
Well, that's
in
the thing.
season
Like,
3?
it's all shot in New York, right? So it's like all
Yeah.
those girls that they got. I mean, they're
just
all
they can be called out on a day's
yeah.
notice.
And I think those locations too are like that burlesque basement scene is probably in like a local burlesque basement dive. I mean, it's those locations are pretty legit. I love the filming of that show is done so beautifully, and the costuming. Oh my God!
and it's
the
so
soundtrack.
inspirational. Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand and the all those great like Yiddish and Jewish songs of like the early '60s are just so fantastic.
Yeah.
Late '50s. I love it. I'm so hooked on it.
Yeah, it's really. I love the intros in the second season, like the things that they did, like the one how they matched To Kill a Mockingbird. The intro, the little boys like playing with all the little toys and the music. Oh my God,
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
so well
The
done. The casting is so phenomenal. They couldn't have picked. I mean, like, what's his name? Tony Shalhoub as her dad. He's
Monk.
amazing.
I like to call him Monk.
He's perfect.
yeah.
And I love because like in the first season they're all so one-dimensional. It's like the parents are insufferable.
Yeah.
The mom is awful. The father is so like doesn't care and is absentee.
Yeah.
And then in the second season, like they become so rich.
yeah.
The mom is like, screw this, I'm going to Paris. And the dad is like, oh my God, I have to like get it together and get my
but
wife back.
I still had a hard time with the
Sure.
whole, when she was asking her dad for permission to marry the second guy. Are you there?
Yeah, I know that got frustrating.
That was like, you may not be there yet.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm not there yet.
Spoiler alert.
The doctor, the hot doctor.
The hot doctor.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is such a you're doing the stand-up, you're out there,
I
but
like
yet
to
the dad
make
is
sure
still.
we're level.
Oh,
She's
did
a-
you already do it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember.
She's
Yeah.
afraid I'm gonna drink too much.
No, I was trying to level you out. You didn't get enough.
Oh, that's what it
I was
is.
giving you more. Yeah. Yeah. So, is there anything like you mentioned sex work and things like? I mean, do we want to dive into that conversation?
I
or-
have a question.
No topic off limits for me. Also the older I get, the more like unapologetic I am about my beliefs. So you can ask me anything. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about all of that stuff. So depends on how much you want to talk about it. I mean, it's totally up to you.
We're happy to go as deep as you.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to formulate this question because I was thinking about what you're out there on the stage, the absolute total control you have as a woman with what people are seeing. Yet at the same time, it's so completely vulnerable because you're naked.
Yeah.
Well, or with pasties or whatever.
Sure.
And I kind of just want to like talk about that dichotomy.
I love that dichotomy, that juxtaposition. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
It drives a lot of deep thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a great place to go next. Yeah. I love it. Good thinking, Michelle. All right.
Well, I was thinking, yeah. And we're we're back. We have a little bit more. Emily has been very, very good and diligent to make sure that we are all measured out equally to the ounce.
Yes, perfect.
Which is nice.
Sommelier over here.
I just don't want anybody to feel cheated.
Well, which is good because sometimes she just pours herself more and says, well, you guys have a little bit. But
you're on your own.
Yeah, self-love. Hashtag self-love.
That's right.
Me first. Always take care of yourself first. So, Lola, your background story is absolutely fascinating, and
thanks.
everything that you've done in St. Louis. And I was thinking today, or reflecting upon your coming to our show, and I was wondering, and it really kind of hit me about how when you're up there, you're performing, or any burlesque performer is up there, and you have all these folks in the audience on YouTube or whatever. You are in control. It's like all about women's empowerment. It's celebration of the body. Nobody has to be perfect.
Right.
There are, burlesque dancers that are large, small, big boobs, little boobs.
And I love that. And I love how the audiences are always, they celebrate each woman with
as it should
equality,
be. Yes.
Yet I know that how, like, that first time that person goes out there to do that, how scary that is.
Right.
How scary. But each time she performs, I don't know. I'm assuming, because I've not done it. And each time she steps out in that way and performs again, she gains a little bit more power, a little bit more control. Yet at the same time, I found it seems so incredibly vulnerable too, because you are naked in front of these people. So it's like a complete dichotomy or juxtaposition. And I wanted to maybe explore that a little bit more with you, and how you blend it, how you manage it, how you use your voice in this way.
Yeah, that's a really great topic and a great question, because that's exactly right. It's very vulnerable. And I think that's part of the beauty of burlesque and of essentially like naked performance art in that way, is that you are in control. And that's like kind of the big difference, right? So it's this time when I'm on stage where I have agency over my body completely. And I am 100% in charge, and I'm making the choice. I am choosing what the audience gets to see or not. So no one is telling me what to do. No director or club owner or whatever is saying you have to be this naked in order to be valid or valued or to have your art be looked at. And so there is something that's where the empowerment is for me, is that I am making a choice to reveal what I want to reveal. And burlesque is all about the conceal and the reveal, regardless of the literal or figurative.
Which is, if you think about life and relationships, it's about conceal and reveal and conceal and reveal.
Exactly.
And you don't know when, and sometimes you reveal and it's too much, and then other times you don't, and you should have.
Right. Yeah, and that's vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So there's vulnerability in that. And I truly believe that vulnerability is our greatest strength as human beings. It is the greatest strength that we have, is the strength and the gift of vulnerability. It is a gift to give it and to have it, and to realize that it is a strength and not a weakness, as sometimes society would have us believe, right? That if we show our soft underbelly, that we could be hurt. But that's where the strength comes from, is that when we are able to be vulnerable, we are exposing something soft and maybe not as protected, right? We're letting our wall down, we're letting our guard down. And when we are able to do that, we are showing that we can be strong in our vulnerability. And there's something so truly beautiful about that to me. And I find it utterly inspiring. It's why I can continue to watch burlesque and be moved and be blown away by seeing other performers of any gender, of any age, it does not matter, being able to give that gift. And you can really see it when it happens to you, when you're watching somebody.
Well, I just had this thought, and it seemed like the reveal is where your control is, right? So if you're choosing to reveal whatever part of it is about you, that's where your control is, versus when somebody finds something out about you, right?
Right.
Because there's no shame in your revealing and
Right.
and owning it that way.
Right. It's an act of shamelessness. Like there's no shame in it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also I like too how when you're showing that soft underbelly, you know, or you're showing that, you know, you're being vulnerable, you're showing the thing that might be imperfect, and you're letting everybody in. I mean, that is what allows people to connect.
Yes.
You know, people can relate to you, and when you start finding common ground, you know, it's by being open that
absolutely
that real connection happens.
And that is the meaning of life right there, is connecting with other people, right? So if you know, people say, oh God, what am I doing? Why am I here? And I always say that I'm here to connect with other people. And if I can connect to people by being on stage and making them laugh, or turning them on, or making them think, or making them question something, then I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm connecting with other human beings. And every time we have those moments of connection, whether we're here talking to each other, or I'm on stage giving a performance, it's a moment in which I'm connecting to another human being, and it is such a lovely thing to me.
I would like to have a little insight here from you. When people, and I'll just say women, because this is, you know, definitely, you know, women focused. When women that you meet and you know, they don't necessarily know that you burlesque performer and production, you know, all those things, and you say, oh, I dance burlesque, and they immediately are a little nervous or a little like, oh, and they like project a little bit of disdain, or, you know, look down on you. My question is, like, what do you go through in your brain internally to deal with it? Because, you know, Emily and we've been doing our Cliterally Speaking the Podcast for a few months, and we have run into a few women out there that get absolutely way nervous and trip over themselves over the name.
Right.
And I was just curious, like, how you handle it, what kind, you know, maybe there's things that you do that we can also then internalize and okay, you know, this is what Lola does. What would Lola do? WWLD, right?
Yes. How fabulous. Yeah, that's great. I've actually been thinking about that myself, because I think the longer I've been in this business, and the more I've really broken down my own barriers and really processed and sort of unpacked, you know, everything in my life that got me to this point, right? Like the
baggage that got you there, as well as the
trauma,
desires,
the joys, the pleasures, the pains, like all of those things, right? I have gotten to a point to where I absolutely have removed the shame. So I remember when I was younger, there was a bit of that sort of guilt. Like, even though I was proud of what I did, I would still sort of try to, you know, pad it with a little bit of sugar, you know, like, oh, I do burlesque, but like, you know, it's like this, rather than now. If people ask me, I love to I push it a little further on purpose, because I think it's almost part of my job now. I think it's my duty to destigmatize
the female body,
just period.
Yeah, you're an
destigmatize
advocate.
sex,
Yeah.
as much as I can, and to say, yeah, I dance. And then sometimes I'll just say, I'm a fancy stripper, you know, because I want people to know that there's nothing wrong with that, and that I have chosen this, that no one has made me feel like I have to do something, or what, you know, that I'm somehow unworthy, or that I've made a choice because of something that, I don't know, some sort of sad reason.
Right. You're searching for acceptance and love through,
because there is so much stigma on women, period, about, you know, if a woman dresses a certain way or acts a certain way, then there's clearly something broken or damaged about her. And so for me, I feel like I need to use my voice to remind people that that's absolutely not true. And so when people ask me, oh, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm a burlesque dancer, and I sense even the slightest bit of trepidation or projection of their own insecurity, or their, you know, their ego or their issues, I immediately use my own like humor or whatever to just sort of be like, oh yeah, it's amazing. Like, this is my life, and this is what I do, and I have all these friends, and I just kind of, I plow right through it. I make sure that I do everything as possible to have no hesitation.
Yeah, you own it.
I own it 100%. And I think ownership is the key. It's the key to confidence. It's the key to getting what you want out of life, is that you have to own everything, the good, the bad, and the
Yeah.
ugly. You have to own it. If it's not so pretty, and you own it.
Yeah.
And if you're just like, oh, yep, this is what happened. This is me. This is who I am. This is what I want. This is my dream. This is my life. These are my choices. It kind of forces people to then they have to make a choice, either accept it or move along.
Right. Right.
Do you find that because you're nude for work, do people feel more entitled to touch you or,
Yeah, it's interesting. Luckily, not often, especially in this, in this Me Too movement, which is very important. There's a lot of discussions around consent, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So now, every now and then, I actually more frequently get kind of drunk women who think
on you?
who think that they are entitled to touch me because I have what you have, so I can grab at you, right?
Wow.
And I
That's
actually
shocking.
Yeah, and it happens more than you would think.
Wow.
But and this is not to drag women, right? Because that's the last thing we need. But and that's not not to shame them either, right? But like it does happen, and often when I gently but firmly kind of put them in their place, there is this like light bulb. And actually, this happened to me recently in New Orleans. I had a woman was with her very drunk fiance, or this guy, some guy she was with, and he was being just like the typical, just like entitled, gross dude. He was just being like, "Hey, let me put my arm around you, and can we take a picture together? You want to come home with me, my wife? Like all of this stuff. Like, yeah, buddy, like that's exactly what I want right now.
Yeah,
I performed for you, and suddenly now I want a threesome.
Yeah, I've been living my life waiting for you to walk in.
Waiting
how
for
did
your
you know that I dreamt about you when I was like 10?
Exactly.
And I was just been on this journey,
Prince Charming,
on this journey, trying to find you,
right,
drunk man, in
exactly.
the corner.
And he was thinking he was just like he had hit the jackpot because he was at this burlesque show with these like lovely burlesque dancers, and she said, he said, oh, take a picture with my wife. She really wants to take a picture with you. And so of course I obliged. And he said, now come on, babe, put your hand on her butt.
Oh my God.
And
he encouraged her to touch you.
Yeah, he's like, grab her a little bit. It'll be hot. And I looked at him and I said, no. And she said, oh, should I not do that? And I looked at her and I said, listen, I said, in this moment, she's like, he's just drunk. He's just being silly. And I looked at her and I said, every day women worry. Because she said, the problem was that she said, but can we just do it just this one time? Like, can we put our hand? Because I said, well, if I let you do it, everyone's going to want to do it.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, but just like this one time. And I looked at her and I said, not only if I let you do it, will everybody want to do it, but it sets an example and a precedent that says it's okay to touch people without asking. And I said, and haven't you had enough of random men walking up to you and thinking they can grab you without asking your permission? And the look on her face and the realization that came over her. And I said, how often have you had your boundaries crossed when you didn't want them to?
Right.
And she was just like, oh my God, you're so right. And I think in that moment, she realized that not only was I a real person, but that I had like agency.
Even when you're off the stage, and you're
even when I'm standing there and like Casey's in a G-string, and she was like, "Oh my God, I never thought of it that way, and I'm so sorry." And I was like, "It's okay." I said, "But you don't deserve it, so I definitely don't deserve it." And she was like, "You're right." And then she was like, she's like, "Stop asking her, like leave her alone,"
Yeah.
And it was just sort of this moment, but it happens. But that being said, that's one small example. Luckily, it doesn't happen very often at all. And kind of beautifully on the flip side of it, more and more when people come up to me to take a photo, they say, is it okay if I put my arm around you?
That's
It's wonderful. And I always say yes. I totally don't mind.
Yeah.
But I appreciate even more that they asked.
Right.
If they said, can I put my arm around you? Absolutely. Can I give you a hug? Sure. But the fact that they're asking is so wonderful than just assuming that they can put their hands. And I have to say, most of the time, people are so careful. And the men and the women both are like, oh, is it okay? Can I put my arm? Yes, you're fine.
Well, I think I'm going to just speculate here because it came to me and I'd have absolutely no facts to back this up. It's complete total speculation. People, when they go to a burlesque show, are usually knowing they're going to see some kind of art. It's a theater. So they might be treating you, the performer, with more respect than if they thought they were just going to go see somebody strip.
Well, and that's
That's where, it's all the human body. It's all somebody that you need to be respecting.
Exactly. And that's been what's really interesting and kind of wonderful for me as sort of I don't know, I try to be like a little bit of a spokesperson for this kind of subject, but I on stage, as if I'm the MC, I always give a little fun but firm lesson on consent. Kind of just not by trying to like beat it over their head, but just say, don't touch basically and ask permission. And the line between being a pervert and a creeper is consent, and feel free to be a perv, but don't be a creep. And, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with feeling turned on or thinking lustful thoughts or having a desire. There's nothing wrong with that.
Part of humanity,
it's
right?
part of what makes us magical human beings, having desires and feeling excited. That's wonderful. But don't be a creep about it. Don't think
you don't have to act on your desire
and don't
just because you got it.
Exactly. Don't feel entitled to my time or my body, right? And so there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. But it's exactly the same rules that should apply in a strip club.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is those women are also providing a service. And so if they are providing a service in which you are allowed to, there's a lap dance or something and the contact is allowed, you still need to be asking permission. You are still should be treating those women with just as much respect. It's just a different environment. And in burlesque, there is a bit more of a wall.
And maybe a different clientele that are going to be at the burlesque versus
there's a different expectation.
Everything that you could get at a strip club.
Right.
Right.
It's just a different clientele. It's a different expectation.
Yes.
You're there for a different reason.
Yes.
But it's all fantasy and magic. It's all theater and magical and beauty and it's all requires and should have respect.
Well, this podcast is all fantasy and magic and beautiful as well.
Yes.
And I think we're going to take another quick break and then
great.
come back and talk some more about some great things that are happening with you and with Lola and here. And we'll be right back, guys.
More wine.
More wine.
Okay, so I'm going to lead us back in.
Are you now?
I am. Yes.
It sounds like you have something that you're ready to pull out of the hat.
I have some magic to pull out of the hat. Yeah.
All right.
Actually, not that much magic. I can start here. This is magical.
Yeah, this is great. It's fun. Champion, I'm going to get some cheese.
It sounds like you're saying champion.
If you want to use a knife,
But I
you
like
can use a knife
that.
too.
I like that it's.
It's a cheese.
Hey, look
I
at
can
that.
tell just by the purple.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Every last drop there.
And that fontina is very good too, with the pizza-looking.
Yes, thank you so much.
Did you? Were you? Was Burlesque Bingo yours? Did you
No.
do that? That was okay.
No, that was originally Mimi Layuk from the Randy Dandy. She now runs the Monocle, which is a wonderful place to do shows. But she gave that show up, and then it didn't happen
I
for a
loved
long time.
that show.
It's back.
It is?
It's at the Crack Fox, which is on Olive, like downtown next to the Fax and Speakeasy.
Oh.
And it's once a month. It's like the third Thursday of the month or something, which is when it always was, like some Thursday of the month. And it's now being run by Little Bo Peep Show, who was already a member of the Randy Dandies who produced Burlesque Bingo. So the torch got passed to Greta Garter. Greta Garter just moved to California, and now Little Bo Peep Show has taken the reins.
That was always so
It's
much
still
fun.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all the bingo bitch and the,
Yeah, right.
the whole, it's really cute.
Throwing the cards and the winner and that was fun.
Our performers, our burlesque performers from St. Louis, I mean, are they because their markets are growing and that's why they're moving? I mean, I know we want to ask why you moved to New Orleans if you want to share that, but like,
Sure. Greta moved because her husband got a job.
Okay.
And I'm really happy for her though, because that girl was such a martyr. Greta Garter is a martyr. She was just working so hard for everybody else but herself. And she takes joy in doing work for others. But I was like, girl, sit down.
Yeah.
It was constant. And so now that she's living in California, I think she's probably going a little stir crazy. But I'm so happy because she's
Time for her.
time for her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My girl, I know it won't last because she's going to find 8 million jobs. She was working like 80 hours a week.
Oh my God,
She's
that's
insane.
intense.
She had a salon. She was my hairstylist, and it's the same person. Calm down.
He just doesn't have the earphones on.
It's always waiting to be territorial about something. Oh yeah, see, it's fine.
Well,
Same guy.
he's been here for like an hour now, so he now owns this space.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Takes nothing.
Yeah.
He comes in and he's super calm because he's going into someone else's space. And then the moment he thinks it's his, he's like, "Don't worry, ladies, I'll protect you from my mom's lap."
So this cheese
Boneless and floppy.
this wine together are fabulous. Yeah, that truffly goodness there, like that little
Ooh,
bit.
I want to try.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's really good with this wine. Yeah, I could never. Cheese is a
Oh my god, it's really good.
signature part of my diet. Like, you know,
Signature.
yes,
Signature food. And that's really good.
yeah.
Well, that whole
Alright.
thing from Costco was fabulous. All those cheeses came in
Oh yeah.
one package of Costco.
My new roommate in New Orleans, she has a Costco membership. And she doesn't drive. Drives a scooter, and I have the car. So
Why would she? Yeah, you can't go to Costco on a scooter.
nope, cannot.
You can't even go to the Costco cafe
No,
on a scooter.
she's got a scooter, and she's in a scooter gang called Pussy Envy.
Oh
is too
my
funny.
god,
And they all
that's
have matching
great.
jackets with cats with sparkly pink, like pink lady jackets that say Pussy Envy on the back.
That is
It's
fabulous.
really great. She's really amazing. She's the costume designer for Crew de Vue, which is one of the largest Mardi Gras crews.
Yeah, that's the erotica one, isn't it? The Crew de Vue.
I mean, they're all pretty filthy.
But,
Theirs
like,
is fairly filthy. This year, the theme of the float is in space, no one can hear your safe word.
Oh.
It's called submission control is the theme this year.
Oh my god.
So it's going to be like kind of it's like a postmodern what is it? It was her idea. She actually won. She had the idea. She's like, I'm going to make them vote for me. And this was her idea. So it's in like a post Me Too world with Barbarella like inspired. So it's going to be like Barbarella. It's going to be a dominatrix alien with like a ball gagged male alien. They're going to build this massive paper mache thing. And there's going to be like giant penis rockets and on the
I want to
float.
see this.
And I'm the new banner girl.
Oh my god.
I moved to New Orleans and she's like, "Will you be our banner girl?" And I was like, "This is a great way to be inducted into this city." Like, I have to dress up like a slutty alien lady.
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's going to be really fun.
That
March.
is fantastic.
I'm giving up a really amazing gig here in St. Louis to do that instead. But I think it's worth it.
I think to be on it's a float.
It's a huge Mardi Gras. So
Yeah,
it's
the
a
views
1,000-member crew,
Oh my
and
God.
they have a massive, and the way the crews work in New Orleans, like everybody has to vie essentially for their spot. And so because Crew de Vue is so established, they basically are the kickoff. There's one new crew that gets the day before them, but they're February 16th. So they are like the first major parade of the whole season. But there's crew of Chewbacca's, crew of Muses, crew there's so many.
A friend of mine's in the Crew of Muses, and I have a shoe up on my mantle in St. Louis.
Yeah, there's crew of Goddesses. There's crew of T-Rex. Like there's so many.
Curious. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many crews. Yeah, and there's this one crew that does miniatures. So it's a bunch of people in tuxes and ball gowns, and they pull tiny miniature floats that are like this big with like tiny miniature peeps and people on them and stuff.
It's a less expensive crew.
Oh yeah.
Much less expensive.
Oh yeah. And people take it so seriously, you guys. People plan for the entire year.
Yeah.
It's like Burning Man, same kind of thing.
Oh
like
yeah.
People,
People plan all year. There's membership fees. Like they fight. There's like all this infighting. It's hilarious. Like Julianne comes home from crew meetings and she's like, "Oh my God, so and so is mad at the color choice for this year's fundraiser ball." And, it's just insane. And they're all a bunch of crazy people that, just constantly rage. So we live one block off the parade route. And so we're going to be throwing we have 3 bars in our new house and a hot tub in our Burt Reynolds
my gosh.
suite.
Oh my
Very
word!
excited.
Oh wow, that's
We got really lucky.
Fantastic.
We found this amazing 125-year-old mansion that this guy doesn't want to take care of anymore. So we moved into the bottom floor, and we're the only women in the whole place. We get the whole bottom floor, and then 3 different bachelors have 3 small apartments upstairs. One's a cinematographer, one I don't even know, and then we have the servants' quarters is a little cottage in the back, and he's a German artist, and we have a feral cat colony, like 12 or 13 cats that live in our backyard.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
really
It
magical.
sounds like
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah, and she has
Wow.
a sewing studio that she's building in our garage, and clients come over all day, every day to get fitted.
That's fantastic.
It's really nice. And we have an oil
Did you know
painter.
that was the setup when you moved there, or did you? This might be conversation
is
we
conversation
should have.
we should be
Let's
having.
hold it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
You're
I
going to
want
lead us back
to
in.
hear about that community
Mm-hmm.
again. Okay. Yep. And we're back with full glasses once again.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Emily. You do such a good job
well,
with that.
I like to bring the joy in these conversations here. So, when Lola was talking before our break, she mentioned G-string. And of course, right away, I realized that we made one big mistake early on in this show.
Right. I haven't
We
given
did
my
not-
impression of the wine
Yes.
and related it to underwear yet.
Right.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
a thing?
It is my thing.
Mhm. So,
Right. I know.
Yeah,
I
we-
was actually kind of thinking, oh, maybe Emily will forget about it because, because Lola has fantastic underwears and
Oh.
panties and all these things.
Well,
and I'm like,
it's just
Quite the collection.
it just brought me right back to where we
Right.
began.
right. So I guess let me have a few more sips. Let me think about it. Let's talk about it. I promise I will let
Before
you know
this is over.
before
Okay.
we close out the show
I can't wait to hear about
what
it.
my impression of the wine is as
Well,
it relates to underwear.
Maybe with Lola, you having quite the collection of fabulous panties, maybe you should share your thoughts on what kind of panty
I'm
is
not
this
gonna lie.
wine?
When you said leathery,
I know.
it made me think
Yeah.
it's got a bold, a bold sort of dominatrix kind of vibe. Maybe a strappy vinyl, like
Oh,
a
okay.
black pair of strappy with multiple straps on it.
Mhm.
Shiny.
It's very shiny. Maybe
Yeah.
a few studs.
I was
in
just going
there.
to say there's got to be some studs,
some
right?
studs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some studs. It would pair well with a nice flogger, possibly, and
Mhm.
some high heeled vinyl boots.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I just didn't know how to be that open and vulnerable with you guys about it. I definitely was. I was even thinking corset as well with this
Oh,
wine.
absolutely, a corset for
that's
sure.
But Emily and I hadn't discussed like the rules. Can I talk about it as panties as a corset, maybe with the
I
garters?
mean, that's part of that is underwear. You know,
Yeah.
corsets and
Yeah.
stockings. Those are all underwear.
Yeah.
I think it.
I love corsets.
Oh yes, me
Yeah.
too. Me too.
I went one year for Halloween. I went up to this corset maker in Chicago who's
Ooh.
known for like making corsets for professional doms.
Yes.
And I went all out, and I actually had a corset made by him, and complete with D hooks on it and everything
Wow,
for
amazing.
like the flogger and
Yes.
all of that. Yeah, it's
girls
one of
gotta
my
have our
favorite
tool belt.
costumes.
Yes. Exactly. Functionality.
Yeah, it's just a little awkward when Emily wears it to Home Depot. She's like, man, I'm just putting my hammer. I got my drill there. It's all good. Yeah.
Yes.
Step back. I'm gonna have the measuring tape.
Yes, the things we learned in Girl Scouts still are working for us today.
Fabulous, wonderful. Yeah, this is a very good wine, and
Yeah.
I think we have completed the outfit with
I think we
with the black
have.
corset and
It's
Yes.
a collaboration.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. What much like this wine has been a collaboration, and our
right.
podcast, and this wonderful conversation.
So,
But anyway,
yeah,
I'm gonna
so-
have another sip.
Yeah, have a sip. So during our break, you started sharing with us this amazing little community that you've moved into New Orleans. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what took you to New Orleans.
Ooh, that requires like a therapist couch and
And another bottle of
it's
wine.
deep. Yeah, it's very deep. But no, the shorter answer is that it was time for a change. I had been living above my storefront on Cherokee for almost 8 years. And it was wonderful. I mean, some of the most incredible times of my life were there. The greatest heartbreak and the most beautiful love I have ever experienced happened in those walls. And the greatest shows I've ever created, the most creative work I've ever done, all the best friendships. I mean, just everything. My life really developed and blossomed in that space, in that building. And leaving it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I never thought I would be in love with a building, a space. It felt like a breakup.
Sure.
And I went through every stage of grief with the decision. And everyone asked, like, why would you leave? Like, things were going great. And that's why I left, is because I wanted to leave while it was still good. You know, I didn't want to leave when everything was like, because I had to leave or because I was being forced
chased out of town.
Yeah, right?
Right. With the angry people on,
exactly. When they finally had
and,
decided they'd had enough of my antics. Yeah. It was just time. And I had been talking about expanding my operations for so long. I love New Orleans. It's been the one city outside of St. Louis that I've felt like is my home. Mm-hmm. And I had been performing in New Orleans for about a decade. And so I finally decided in the spring of this year, my most recent tour there, that I was walking alone in the park, and I said, "This is it. It's over. Like, it's time. It's time.
This is where I need to be."
Yeah.
You had said that the greatest love and the greatest heartbreak was in the space on Cherokee, and the greatest creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that's where great creativity comes from, is when you were having these deep emotions.
Oh, yes.
And so is there deep emotions that you're developing now are you developing a new love in New Orleans?
Yes.
Are you? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I actually have had such intense transition feelings. I knew it would be hard and traumatic, but because moving is traumatic regardless,
it's terrible.
like no matter what.
Yes.
But it has been even more intense than I could have ever imagined. And
in what ways?
oh God, I felt so uprooted, like leaving my community behind and my best friends, the deepest family, chosen family, and my biological family, my blood relatives and beyond, all are here. And so leaving them behind was so difficult, especially when you are leaving. At least what I experienced is, then everyone decides now is a time to tell you everything they've been meaning to tell you for the past 10 years. So on top of all of the feelings I was already having, I'm also getting everybody else saying, Lola, I've been meaning to tell you this for years, and now here it comes. And it's beautiful, but it's also like, oh my God, I can't take anymore, because everyone is just emoting. And it's beautiful. I'm not complaining.
They're all being vulnerable with
They're
you,
being
right?
so vulnerable. And they are telling me what I've meant to them, or what our friendship has meant, or what I did, whatever. And it's so beautiful, but it's also so emotional. Mm-hmm. And so to leave them behind, and especially some of them, they're saying, please don't leave, or we'll wait for you to come back, if things don't work out. Oh God, it's awful. It was awful. Mm-hmm. And then to go to New Orleans, where I really didn't have I have friends, but not my support system. I know people, but they're not my deep personal friends anymore. And it was just, oh God, it was so hard. Mm-hmm. And I had some friends that I thought I had when I came to New Orleans, but they really didn't. They weren't there for me. Yeah. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
But in the midst of all of that, I found new friendships. I found who is now my roommate, and I found kind of a new love that I was not expecting or looking for. And so there's been
marvelous.
Some beautiful, some really beautiful things have transpired. And now I feel like I'm primed and ready to take 2019 by the horns.
Yeah, I get this sense that it, and again, I have absolutely no facts to back any of this up, but I have this sense from you that it wasn't a leaving people behind, that you've moved to New Orleans to expand, to share more, to share yourself with more of the world, and that you haven't left St. Louis behind.
I haven't. Oh God, I've been here like every once a month.
Right. And it's almost like, it's like you've made room for more people to even like fill in the spaces where you used to be here, right?
That was what I wanted.
Opportunities for folks.
I really wanted to give them the chance. I love metaphor, so I liken it to like, I planted my roots here, and this beautiful tree grew here, this garden, and I have all these like baby birds that, are nesting, and it was time to push them out. Yeah. And that is not to diminish at all how strong and amazing and capable all these people already were, but sometimes you need to take away the safety net.
I have always felt that when you create something, especially if it's an organization or let's say an artist movement or we won't include our podcast because this is personality driven. But I found that when you've created something, you know it's successful when it can stand without you being the one directing everything every day.
Yeah.
All of
and
these
that's
things.
the test, right?
And you know, burlesque is still living in St. Louis.
Thriving.
You should continue to pat yourself on the back
Oh,
for that.
that's really nice. And that really is what I wanted to see, you know, and I told them, I want you all to now take a step into this sort of forefront. I want you guys to now be the face, you know, and it's a challenge, obviously, and it's a lot of work, but already I'm seeing it happen.
You've seen the growth in.
Oh God, it's just so beautiful to see. It's really, obviously it's a very complicated emotion, but it is all from love. And so I have a troupe, the Bonbons, who I'm watching like take control of their entire career. I have like almost nothing to do with it now. And it is so exciting to see them thrive and get their own bookings and to be in demand and to see the people I gave my studio to, Cindy Hoo and Greta Garter, they've taken the reins of that. And Cindy Hoo especially, she's like now completely in charge along with one of my former students, Dizzy Tunt, who is now taking control of management places. It's just amazing. And I'm so excited because I want them to be in charge.
And I would think that the other part about it is that when you come back and you're here in St. Louis quite a bit, but your friendships are intentional now. It's not just friendships by convenience. It's not just because you're down the street, I'm going to stop by and say hello. You know, it's everything's intentional.
Yeah.
And that really, I think, raises the level of like vulnerability and connection that you have.
It's so rich. You're right. It's my friendships have actually become deeper.
Right.
Because now when I'm here.
Yes.
And I'm spending like very specific time with the people I love because I know I have a very limited amount of time. So now when we're together, we are like deep in it. You know, I was out with my friends last night till like 3 a.m. because we kept wanting to hang out and talk and be ridiculous with each other, you know? So it's so great. Yeah.
So you have this new community of friends that's starting to develop in New Orleans, and you were sharing a little bit about this amazing community, this home that you're
living situation.
It's incredible.
I got so lucky, y'all.
How did you find that?
So I already had some friends and connections, of course. Like the burlesque community runs deep, and it's very tight, and everyone knows everyone. So I already had like friends there. So I'm trying to deepen some relationships there, and that's slowly but surely. It is the big easy. Things move slow, you know. But I have already reached out and have some really lovely connections there. But then I have a friend here in town, a couple, Jane and Brock, who are just wonderful. And she's a local belly dancer. And she told me when I moved down, oh, you have to meet my cousin, my ex-cousin-in-law, Julianne. And so Jane's cousin was married to Julianne. They are no longer together, but they've maintained a friendship. And she said, oh, you guys will just hit it off right away. And so she connected us on Facebook. And so we met for like tacos and margaritas one Sunday, like shortly after I moved to town. She had a scooter. I had a scooter. Didn't know that. Both drove up. She was like, oh my God, let's talk about this. And then she told me about her scooter gang, Pussy Envy, and her badass like Pussy Envy jackets that she had. And I immediately liked her. We liked each other right away. And but we were just gonna be friends. There was no intention of living together. And I was looking for a roommate. I was going to live by myself, and I was looking to downsize from my 3-story building.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need a small place for me in Chappie. And then the roommate I had lined up fell through. And the day after that happened, and I was a little panicked because I had a timeline in which I needed to find a space. She said, oh, you know, I know you already have a roommate, but I'm thinking it's time for me to move out of my place. So it'd be really cool. And I was like, oh my God, you have no idea. Like, this is perfect. And she said, I knew we met for a reason. I knew it was destined in the stars.
Amazing. It's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Michelle, of how things, when they're supposed to be, just naturally flow.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, so
gosh.
that's exactly what happened. It was her saying, oh, do you want to live together? And it was just sort of this instant, well, yeah, okay.
Duh. I mean, like,
Can you live with, it was like, as long as you will accept living with my little guard dog, great. And so the very next day, she found this listing on Craigslist. It had just been listed that day. The owner of the house had moved to this small town a couple hours from New Orleans, and he didn't want to take care of it anymore. and he owned this 125-year-old classic New Orleans mansion.
Oh my gosh.
And it hadn't been renovated since 1984. So we got it for a bargain. And we now live in this massive...
You guys purchased it?
No, we're renting.
Okay.
But we're getting it for... it's ridiculous. Yeah, a song for sure.
He's not listening to our podcast, so he's not going to realize that he needs to charge you more.
Well, and it's funny because he even said, I know I could get more for it, but I don't care. I don't want to do the renovation. It's too much work for me. He's retired and he's over it. And he comes into the city once a month, like an old-fashioned. He comes to our door to collect rent once a month, and he's a classic New Orleans man. You know, he comes over and he just wants to sit down and drink a cup of tea and talk to us about our lives. And I mean, it's hilarious.
On the porch, on the veranda.
Oh, yeah, on the veranda.
Marvelous.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But the place is very old, so but my roommate Julianne is this incredibly crafty, ingenious woman. So she's just constantly in there with a caulk gun, and her mom comes over and they're constantly repairing things, and it is a beautiful place. And we have this big backyard.
And have you fallen in love? Have you fallen in love with it like you did your building?
It's in a different way, but yes. Oh God, I love it. There's stained glass and 3 fireplaces and 3 bars. And we have my dream was always to have a kitchen that was like big and open with I wanted a bar so that I could cook and people could sit at the bar and drink cocktails while I cook, and I have that now.
Oh my
gosh.
So
it's really special, and I'm going to be hosting some women's retreats in my new space.
I was just going to say,
April.
I can see this kind of special collective of women coming in.
Stay
and
tuned.
Special events. And
Be sure to keep us informed.
We
of
have an oil
those.
painter who rents our front room, and she paints these beautiful paintings, and it's magical.
Oh my
so
gosh.
in April, I'm going to be hosting a recharge your spirit retreat, and I'm going to be organizing all kinds of fabulous events. We're going to go do second line parades through the quarter and have fancy dinners and drink cocktails in my house and
fabulous.
do yoga in my living room.
Wow, we might have to have a Cliterally Speaking podcast recording happening.
Yeah, it'd be
during
perfect.
this
I
retreat.
know. We the Pussy Envy gang.
Yes.
That would be I have a scooter too.
You would be a part of it.
So I could
do you
be like
Do you happen to be a divorcee?
I am divorced.
That is actually the requirement. I'm not part of Pussy Envy, but I'm on the auxiliary because I've never been divorced, and it's a divorcee scooter gang. So they would probably accept you with open
and they
arms.
probably would like my podcast name.
They would love it.
Podcast.
Oh, they would love it.
Well, but you said you also have like a German person living with you.
Yes.
Or
So there's this wonderful German artist named Ben who lives in this little cottage in our backyard, and he's a lovely man. And he's actually been so wonderful because he helps us with little projects around the house. And he also feeds a feral cat colony. So we have like 12 cats that live in the backyard, and he feeds them like chickens. Like he comes out with the feed and just like scatters it in the yard, and all these cats live there. And he built his this little cat house so that they have shelter in the winter, and it's adorable. And Chappie coexists peacefully with them, and I think he likes it because he's got friends in the backyard.
Do you have a picture? We might have to share a picture.
Oh yeah, I have
of
pictures. I
that.
can.
So I have another philosophical question for you.
Sure.
Because this is obviously how this Spanish wine makes me think very, very deep and philosophically. You have created this community. You created a community in St. Louis with the burlesque, obviously, and it has grown, and we have benefited from it tremendously.
That's really nice.
And now you're in New Orleans, and you're continue to expand who you are at Lola Van Ella. You have name recognition beyond our own
you're a brand.
our own borders, right?
Right. A known brand.
Do you find, and this is my question, that you've created and you've opened yourself up to artists, regardless of painter, musician, seamstress, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
medium.
then so because you're open to all of that, you are now attracting everything out. They're coming to you, and then that elevates like your own life experience even greater than if you were just the girl, the accountant who burlesqued at night.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I really believe that you have to, it's a garden. Again, I love metaphor. You have to tend to your garden, like the things that you want to grow, you have to sort of manifest those things. And I truly believe that like attracts like, and that
we do
you
too.
are, it's so real, and that you absolutely are in charge of your, it's manifest destiny. But I also believe in, things happen for a reason.
Right.
I believe very, very ferociously that, time, like there's no such thing as bad timing. Like even like the worst things that happen to you, like there's lessons in everything, right? Like, and if we use the gift of perspective, right? Which I think perspective is our greatest gift in life. Like vulnerability is our greatest strength. I think perspective is the greatest gift that we have. You're able to attract the things that you want because you're able to go, okay, so this is terrible. This really sucks. Like this is a terrible situation that I'm in. But like, what is the lesson in this? Once I get off the floor and, stop crying for days or, feeling horrible about myself, because there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like we have to feel our feelings.
You have to go through it.
Once we get through that, then the gift of perspective kicks in and you're like, okay, what's like the lesson here? Like, what can I learn from this? And when we're able to sort of see that ahead of us, that's when we can manifest the things that we want. Yeah. And so I never imagined that I would have this incredible community, but oh my God, I am genuinely so humbled by it and grateful because I really feel, without sounding cheesy or like a little too eat, pray, love here, that's a great book and everything. But
I joke. We're not. No disrespect there.
Yeah, no disrespect. My best friend Jeez Louise always like jokingly calls me because I write these like very deep like journalistic things on like Facebook and Instagram, and she like calls me like eat, pray, strip all the time. She's like calls me eat, pray, strip. Like Lola's on her eat, pray, strip journey. But without getting too like cheesy or cliche, I genuinely believe that we open ourselves up when we want the things that we want, when we manifest the things, when we put into the world, you get what you give,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And I never could have imagined this community that is around me, but I am truly humbled and grateful. I am constantly being reminded by the people around me that I am so lucky because they tell me all the time how happy they are to be a part of this community. And it does take a village. It truly takes a village. And I am so amazed that they want to be a part of my village. Every time I get like really overwhelmed, I feel like I'm asking too much. They're like, no, we want you to ask us for help. Yeah. We're waiting for you to tell us what you need. And we all take care of each other. I'm trying to be there for them and they are always there for me. It is amazing. It is such a gift.
Well, it's absolutely wonderful to hear it. And I think for our listeners who are putting things out there into the universe for themselves, if they just continue going on the path, continue believing in yourself and manifesting your dream. I mean, I joke with people before, Emily and I would start this podcast because I ventured to say, hey, I want to do a podcast. And she jumped on it. And here we are. We made it a reality. And I know we sit back and overwhelmed with our own little, cliterati.
That's right.
Our community that's growing from this. And, we hope for the best. We want to be successful. Everybody does.
Of course.
But you never know how amazing it is to see things transpire.
Yes, and getting outside of yourself.
And to be vulnerable, and we're vulnerable here on the show. Our guests are vulnerable. You've been vulnerable. But our voices are stronger because of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's lifting others up. We talk about in comedy, it's called punching up, right? You always want to lift others up, right?
Yeah,
we want to elevate everyone, and burlesque really should be about that, about elevating other people and lifting our sisters, our brothers, everybody up,
That was our honor.
Well, and maybe it's not necessarily that burlesque is that. Maybe you've been that way and I've been that way and others. We've been that way our whole lives and we've found the art form to make it happen.
They complement each other.
Yeah,
because
just like burlesque anything. Didn't make you the way you are.
No.
You have always had that inside you.
Well, it's so important to just try to, to try to be a little bit better than you were the day before,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go down to New Orleans and visit.
I know. I agree.
Yeah.
Stay in the Burt Reynolds suite. We have this amazing wood paneled room.
Do you have like just allow people a little moment in time to grieve his passing?
Oh gosh, yes,
it's like,
of course.
To take a little
it's
moment.
named after him for a reason.
And then enjoy all that was Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
So, talking about manifesting realities for ourselves, and we are in a new year now.
Yeah.
I know Michelle and we have been talking about creating like a vision board for what we want out of this year for ourselves. And we still need to do this.
We have to get to Walgreens
Yes.
and buy the poster board.
Yeah,
And when we do that,
we do.
then we're one step closer to our vision board.
That's right.
Yes.
It's all a matter of our priorities.
Yeah.
Stop at the wine merchant for wine or Walgreens for the vision board.
I mean,
Yeah, wine's gonna win for
I
sure.
think if Walgreens could be next to the wine merchant, we'd be set.
Yeah. Speaking of
But I
which
think
we
what
do.
we should do is when we finally do them, we'll share.
Yeah, we'll
with
share our
everyone.
vision
And
board.
I want to open it up to our community, our Cliterati out there. You know, share your vision for 2019 with us. And as a community, let's lift each other and support each other in what it is that we want. If there's anything we can do to help each other,
Yeah.
you
Make
know,
it
with these goals, let's be there for each other.
I think it's beautiful. Yeah, one of my stage manager, Mama Megan, she's just incredible. She's sort of been like my personal assistant. She jokingly, we refer to, like, they call them the minions, you know, but she calls herself the mignon. And she's just
That's
wonderful.
funny.
And she's been with me for years. And she started a Facebook group called It Takes a Village, y'all. And she's been, she spearheaded this thing because when it was time for me to move, and everybody, I mean, people flocked to help. I was crying like every day. Just like, I couldn't believe, you know, the support. And it was so humbling and overwhelming. But now it's spawned this movement where now everybody else asks for help. Hey, I need to move this piece of furniture. Hey, I'm struggling with, you know, everything from a breakup to, you know, I need a lawyer for a divorce, or I'm in a dangerous situation, or I need help moving some furniture,
Or can somebody hang these pictures for me?
Yes, I'm sad. I just need someone to come over and drink a glass of wine with me and tell me that
That's so
everything's gonna be okay.
nice.
And
That
now
sounds wonderful.
it really has paid it forward. It's spawned this sort of movement, and
Wonderful.
it's just it's really lovely.
It's really nice when we all start to take care of each other and really care about each other.
Yeah,
it's really
especially
beautiful.
now more than ever. You know,
Yeah.
we need to take care of each other.
Continue to. Well, Lola, we want you to plug your event that's happening the same day this episode drops.
Yeah.
Here in St. Louis.
Yes. Yeah, it's called the Shimmy Showdown Weekender. It is its 9th annual. So it's this hilarious, it was sort of my answer to the classic burlesque sort of competitions, pageants. This is a complete opposite of that. It's a comedic, improv, death match, burlesque. Burlesque of burlesque is what I call it. You know, it's sort of parodying what burlesque is. And it is, people look forward to it all year. It's hilarious. And so that is on the 18th. And then on the 19th, it's the Night of Stars. It's this beautiful show with all of the performers' signature acts. And so on the 18th, that is at Fubar. And then basically across the street from that is the Thaxton Speakeasy.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's at the Rowdy
That's a
Rock and
great
Roll
place.
Bar the first night. And then the second night, it's at a beautiful
Yeah.
speakeasy. And then we're using the entire building. So we're taking over
Wonderful.
the whole place on the 19th. Gorgeous glam,
Marvelous.
fabulousness.
So for those of you that would not even like, you're completely shocked and enthralled by what we have here in St. Louis this weekend, there's going to be nothing but
Yes.
burlesque
This
downtown.
is the show to see. It is, especially, I mean, both nights are amazing, and they're both completely different. I recommend getting a weekend pass, of course.
Of course.
But
Hopefully it's not too late.
yeah, no, it's definitely not too late.
Yeah.
Tickets actually just went on sale about a week ago. So,
Well, when this
but when
episode
this
airs,
yeah, it probably won't be sold out if they
Okay.
show up at the door. But
Okay.
it's a magical time.
Okay, maybe if they tell you they heard it on Cliterally Speaking, you might
Maybe they'll get
find
a little-
another spot for
yeah,
them.
we'll find a spot for you.
Fantastic.
That's good. So I have one final request before we wrap this up, unless you had another question.
No, go ahead.
My request is, when we're done, I know that you had a burlesque school. Can you teach Michelle and I one
Yes, of
trick
course.
for the trade?
Of course.
And then we'll keep our video running for the YouTube channel. So for our listeners who are interested in observing,
Can I tell you too that I have to, of course, give a shout out because Van Ella Studios closed, but the torch was passed, and so there is the St. Louis School of Burlesque and Variety.
Okay.
So that still exists. It's at stlburlesque.com. So there,
Okay.
and I come and teach workshops still.
Okay,
So there are
that's
workshops.
great.
And we accept and encourage everybody, all bodies, every
Yeah.
human to come and learn the art of burlesque. But yes,
Fantastic.
I would love.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh,
great.
love to
This is
show
going
you
to be
something.
crazy. Oh,
Chappy will
Sam,
help.
what are you in
Yes.
for? What are you in for?
So, yeah,
Oh my
so
gosh. Well, anyway.
for those of you who like to actually see our recordings, there are wonderful little snippets when we take breaks. The show doesn't stop. We keep talking, so you can get those little extras. And then, of course, you can see Michelle and I shimmy. So there we
Yes.
go.
Absolutely wonderful. Yes, and thank you again for listening to us today. Follow us on all of our socials. Visit us at our website, cliterallyspeakingpodcast.com.
Yeah.
Email us.
We have a comment
We have a comment line, and I've yet to memorize the number. But Emma,
we'll make sure
We'll
that
post
it's
it.
yeah.
Well, it'll be running at the end of this video, and it'll be in our show notes. So check all that out. Tell your friends, like us, like we're 5-star us, like we are your Uber driver, and share it. Tell people about it. Follow us on all of the places that we are out there, podcast land.
Thanks for being a part of our village.
All right.
Yes, thank
Ciao.
you so much for having me.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yay. But you'll just have to take my word for it. So what you're going to do is a very, very traditional step touch. So you're just crossing one after the other. And when you walk, exactly, you've already got it. Super easy.
All right.
So when you do it, we're going to start by just stepping, touch, step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. And you want to like really elevate, like, we say tits and teeth, right? So boobs out, yes. Smiles.
Thankfully, I'm blessed with both.
Yes, there you go. Tits and teeth. You already got it. So you really want to like arch
Sam,
that
I think
back.
you need to try this.
Yeah, Sam would be amazing.
I'm missing at least half that equation.
No, but even though you don't have tits, you can still push the chest out, you know?
Yeah.
Nips forward, basically.
There we go. Okay.
So when you're pushing it out, you want to have those shoulders back, right? You want to elevate everything. Like think like you're wearing like a huge
crown.
headdress on your head.
Okay.
Yes, exactly, like big feathers.
Okay.
And so when you're walking, you can also like have those shoulders.
Oh yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
Like a little roll.
Yes.
Little dance.
Yes.
All right, Emma, your
And-
turn.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes.
All right, hold on.
You got it.
Concentration.
She's so nervous.
I forgot how to do it.
You start with a cross.
Okay, so this way.
Yep, cross
yeah.
first. Cross,
Let me
cross,
through here.
out. Cross, out. Yes.
Oh, wait, here.
Yes.
This will be easier. All right. Now's my turn.
Fabulous.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, you can tell Michelle's a
Yes.
dancer.
Roll those shoulders back. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Confidence.
Lovely.
Fabulous.
All right,
Yes.
Sam.
And if you wanted to, you could add a shimmy to it too. So you could, as you step touch, you could add the shimmy, right?
Wow. We're going down the shimmy showdown here.
Yes.
Let me see you do that, Michelle.
On the shimmy. Yeah. I might do a little dance.
Yeah, jazz hands